So one of the issues that I see with a lot of websites that I work with, when they come on consulting calls or if I'm doing an audit on them, one of the most common problems I see is that their website is too slow to load. Now, the reason why this is such a big problem is that people have short attention spans. Look at the rise of TikTok and stuff like that, Snapchat, everything's disposable. The kind of TikTok videos that we see now are constantly changing angles and stuff like that. They're constantly fighting to keep your attention. So because of that, we've got a really short attention span. So much so that if your website takes more than 3 seconds to load, you're going to lose half of your website traffic. So if you're working hard on your SEO, half of that effort is wasted. If you're spending 200, 500 pounds on Facebook ads more, half of that budget is wasted if the page that you're sending people to takes over 3 seconds to load. Thankfully, it's not that hard to speed up your page. The 3 ways that I would recommend doing it. Number 1 is invest in better hosting. By far the biggest factor in your speed is going to be the hosting. And so many times when you're starting up, it can be tempting to go with the cheaper kind of shared hosting, especially the stuff that's recommended on the first page of Google. Now, the reason why it's recommended on the first page of Google is because those people stuff their articles and their recommendations with affiliate links. So that's why they're recommending these. Whereas if you go with something that's a bit more reputable and it's a little bit more money, like maybe £5 a month, something like that for, let's take SiteGround for example. SiteGround managed WordPress, it's £5 or £6 a month. They will help you move your website over, which is a great help. Or there's other tools that can help you, like it doesn't have to be a big complex thing. And you will instantly see a lift in how quick your website loads. So that's the first thing I'd do, is invest in better hosting if you're using fairly low grade hosting at the moment. There's also other benefits to that, by the way, like better security, less risk of downtime, better support. There's a whole myriad of reasons not to use those cheap hosts, by the way. It's not just page speed. But sticking on page speed, the second thing I would do is I'd optimize my images. So what I mean by that is if you've had a professional brand shoot, or if you've downloaded pictures from pixels.com or Unsplash, something like that, they're high resolution, they're really high quality, they're also high file size. So what I would do is I would want to physically shrink them down so that they're not as physically big when they render. But the other thing I'd do is I'd want to compress them. So you can use plugins, there's Smush, there's a myriad of plugins. I'll add them to the resources page on my website so that you can see the different kind of plugins that I've played with and that I recommend. But physically reducing the image size, so load up Canva, get a nice big template made, one for your hero images, one for your blog headers, one for your sidebar, get those made up as templates that are the right size on desktop, and then you can resize your images there. That will have a massive impact on your loading time. The third thing that I would do is have a look at the plugins that I'm using, and as well as make sure they're kept up to date, I would also minimize the amount of plugins that I have on my website. Basically, a plugin is just a pre-packaged piece of code that's running on your website. So if you're using dozens of plugins to get your website to do everything that you want it to, not only are you going to be slowing it down, but also chances are you're more at risk of there being a conflict. If one plugin upgrades and breaks, is it going to break all the other plugins that work with it? Whereas if you just have a few, you're much less likely to have that problem. So those are 3 quick wins that you can have to speed up your website and potentially double the amount of people that are seeing the work that you've put on your website. So number 1 was invest in better hosting. Number 2 was resize the images. And number 3 was minimize the number of plugins that you're using and make sure that you're using good quality plugins as well. So there you go. If you have any questions, as always, please do let me know and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.